Have you ever scrolled through Instagram, seen some couple sailing barefoot into the sunset on a boat that looks like a floating spa, and thought, yep, that's it, I'm buying a sailboat? Yeah? Well, hold up, Captain Coconut, because here's the thing. Buying a sailboat is 1 part dream, 1 part paperwork, 2 parts bank account, and at least 7 parts duct tape. And if you're not careful, that dreamboat can turn into a very expensive floating regret faster than you can say seacock. Today, I'm sharing the 5 big mistakes I see new buyers make all the time. Some of them funny, some of them painful, and most of them completely avoidable if you know what to look for. So grab a drink, pull up a crate, and let's make sure your dream doesn't end up on Craigslist with a caption that reads, "Motivated seller just needs a little TLC." Let's dive in. We've all seen her, the gleaming white hull, the varnished teak decks, the hammock swaying in the breeze, maybe a golden retriever looking noble on the bow. That boat looks like it was made for sipping rum and getting a tan. But let me tell you, those pretty Instagram boats, they'll steal your heart and your wallet. New buyers often fall head over heels for charm. Classic lines, wood everywhere, a little brass oil lamp swinging from the bulkhead. But guess what comes with all that character? Maintenance. So much maintenance. You'll spend more time sanding teak than sailing. And don't get me started on varnish. It doesn't just apply itself while you're off snorkeling. I've met folks who bought 50-year-old beauties with dreams of island hopping, only to discover the plumbing's original. The wiring looks like spaghetti, and every deck fitting leaks when it rains, which, spoiler alert, is often at sea. Here's the rule. Don't buy a boat because it looks like the dream. Buy one because it fits your dream. If you want to weekend cruise with your spouse and a dog, you probably don't need a vintage ketch with 4 heads and a diesel heater. You need something you can handle, maintain, and enjoy, without needing a full-time shipwright on board. The boat on your Pinterest board might be a showstopper, but if she's not safe, functional, and suited to your sailing plans, she's just a pretty money pit. Romance fades fast when you're bailing rainwater out of the bilge with a coffee cup. Here's a fun exercise. Look at your dream boat's asking price, nod slowly, and now add 40%. That's probably closer to what she'll actually cost you before your first overnight trip. Most new buyers assume the price tag is the big hurdle, and once they've written that check, they're good to go. But sailboats are like icebergs. You're only seeing the tip. Below the surface are insurance premiums, marina fees, haul-outs, surveys, bottom paint, rigging inspections, life raft servicing, and 100 other things that end in invoice. And don't even get me started on refits. Sails aren't eternal. Neither are electronics, hoses, or through hulls. You think you're getting a deal on that older boat? But unless she's been obsessively maintained, chances are you'll be replacing stuff faster than you can learn what it does. A solid rule of thumb: plan to spend 10% of your boat's value every year on upkeep. So if you buy an $80,000 boat, expect at least $8,000 a year just to keep her happy. More if you plan to actually go anywhere. This is the stuff that sinks dreams. Not storms or pirates, but slow financial leaks that wear you down over time. So, budget for more than the boat. Budget for keeping the dream alive. Because a boat you can afford to sail is always better than one you can only afford to post pictures of. Oh boy. This one. If I had $1 for every time someone told me, "She looks solid, I don't think I need a survey," I'd have enough to pay for a survey. And let me tell you, you need the survey. Buying a used sailboat without a proper marine survey is like marrying someone after a Tinder swipe and a good brunch. Sure, the vibe might be great, but you have no idea what's going on under the surface. That hull might look shiny, but what about the core, the keel bolts, the rudder stock, the electrical system that's been upgraded by someone who watched a few too many YouTube videos and decided wire nuts were good enough for salt water? A proper surveyor will check things you never even thought about: compression around the mast step, signs of delamination, moisture in the decks, corrosion in the fuel tank, age and condition of the standing rigging, hull thickness, blistering, rudder play, you name it. They poke, prod, measure, sniff, and tap. And thank God they do. Because those findings can literally save your dream. Now, some folks do get a survey, and then completely ignore it. You'd be surprised how many people glance at a 20-page report full of bold red warnings and still say, "Yeah, but it's such a pretty boat." Look, when a surveyor says immediate attention required, They don't mean maybe someday when you're feeling motivated. They mean it's about to cost you, either in money or safety. I once saw a boat listed as turnkey and ready to cruise. The survey revealed the keel bolts were corroded to the point of almost no threads left. That's not just a repair, that's a catastrophe waiting to happen. But the buyer shrugged it off because the cushions were new. Cushions won't keep your keel attached to the hull in a blow, buddy. So here's the deal. Always get a survey, even if the boat looks perfect, and read it. Ask questions. Follow up on anything that isn't crystal clear. Use it to negotiate. Use it to decide if the boat is even worth buying. But don't, for the love of Poseidon, ignore it. The few $1,000 you spend on a good survey could save you tens of thousands, or worse, save your hide. Because dreams die hard at sea, and they die faster when you find out the rudder's about to fall off halfway to Key West. You wouldn't buy a camper van to tow a horse trailer, right? Or a dirt bike to go cross-country. Yet, I see people buy boats totally unsuited to how they actually want to live or sail, all because they read a blog or watched a video about some couple circumnavigating in a steel cutter with a tiller and no refrigeration. Here's the cold truth. The right boat isn't the best boat. It's the boat that fits you, your plans, your skills, your actual lifestyle, not the fantasy you have while watching sailing channels at midnight. So many people say, I want a full keel blue water cruiser with a wind vane and a water maker and a self-bailing cockpit, and I ask them where they're going. 9 times out of 10 it's the Chesapeake for the summer, and maybe the Bahamas someday. You don't need a circumnavigator to sail to Georgetown. In fact, that big, heavy boat with deep draft and windage might make your life harder. On the flip side, I've met folks who bought small, light coastal boats and then got frustrated they couldn't safely cross to the Azores. That's not the boat's fault. It was built for afternoon breezes and easy anchorages, not blue water crossings. Before you buy, take a brutally honest look at your goals. Are you sailing weekends? Living aboard full-time? Crossing oceans? Island hopping? Are you sailing solo with a partner or a whole family and a dog? Do you like tinkering with systems and doing boat projects? Or would you rather be in the water with a beer? Comfort versus performance. Simplicity versus redundancy. Space versus manageability. These are all trade-offs. There's no one perfect boat, but there is a right boat for you. I met a couple once who had this big, gorgeous center cockpit cruiser. It had everything: generator, aircon, even a washer-dryer, but it was a beast to handle. The wife hated docking it. The husband was always working on something, and they eventually sold it after barely using it. They thought they were buying their dream boat, but they were actually buying someone else's dream. So choose with your eyes open. Be honest about how you want to live, how much you want to work, and how much you want to sail. Because the wrong boat won't just frustrate you, it'll quietly kill your love for the whole lifestyle. And that's a far greater loss than any bad investment. Sailing is one of those rare things in life where the more you learn, the more you realize how little you actually know. And if you go into boat ownership thinking, how hard can it be? Well, friend, let me be the first to welcome you to the School of Hard Knocks, Semester 1. New boat owners often underestimate just how steep the learning curve really is. You're not just learning how to sail, you're learning how to dock, anchor, troubleshoot a diesel engine, bleed fuel lines, splice rope, understand weather systems, wire solar panels, navigate legally, manage batteries, and not hit stuff. And that's before you ever leave the marina. I've seen folks buy 40-foot boats they can barely steer, thinking they'll just figure it out as they go. That's like buying a jumbo jet and planning to learn to fly on the way to your honeymoon. Look, confidence is great, but competence is what keeps your boat floating and your marriage intact. The truth is, even a small, simple sailboat is a floating house with the complexity of a car, an RV, and a spaceship all rolled into one. And the ocean doesn't care how many tutorial videos you watched. She's a great teacher, but her lessons are tough, and she grades in bruises and broken gear. Now, I'm not saying don't chase the dream. I'm saying respect the journey. Start smaller, take classes, sail with others. Charter first. Learn how your systems work. Practice docking in the wind, anchoring in tight spots, reefing under pressure. Make mistakes where the consequences are minor, not when you're halfway to Cuba and the autopilot goes belly up. I met one guy who bought a 35-foot sloop, never sailed before, and tried to back it out of a tight slip with his friends filming on their phones. He took out 2 dock pilings and part of someone's swim platform. That wasn't an epic adventure. It was an expensive lesson in humility. Neglecting the learning curve doesn't just risk your boat, it risks your safety, your savings, and your sanity. It turns a dream life into a stressful, exhausting grind. And that's how people burn out before they ever really get going. Here's the better way. Be humble, be curious, ask dumb questions, sail with experienced people, and learn from them. Watch, listen, and absorb everything. Every sailor you admire was a newbie once. They didn't skip the hard parts. They survived them, learned from them, and grew because of them. Because sailing isn't about having it all figured out, it's about becoming the kind of person who figures it out as you go. One knot, one repair, one sunset at a time. So, take your time, learn well, and when the real adventures begin, you'll be ready, not just to survive, but to actually enjoy the ride. So there you have it. 5 mistakes that have sunk more dreams than storms ever have. And the truth is, most folks don't even know they're making them until it's too late. They think it's about buying the boat, but it's really about building the life. One smart decision at a time. If you take anything from this, let it be this. Don't chase the perfect boat. Chase the boat that fits you, the one you can handle, afford, learn from, and love even when the head's clogged and the fridge stops working at anchor, because that's when the real sailing starts. Respect the learning curve. Listen to your surveyor, budget more than you want to, and don't get hypnotized by a shiny hull with teak decks and 1,000 likes on Instagram. Buy the boat that lets you live the dream without destroying it in the process. If you found this helpful, or at least mildly entertaining, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe so we can hang out again next time. And hey, if you've made any of these mistakes yourself, let me know in the comments. Misery loves company, and we're all learning out here together. See you out there.